Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever you are. Welcome back, my fellow soul students. Welcome back to another soul podcast episode, aka SOL, aka Student of Life. I'm your host, Yve Marie. So today it is season 3, episode 4. The topic of today is composure. It's important to maintain composure in the face of conflict. Composure in the face of conflict is about maintaining control of the only thing you actually can control in a situation: yourself. It's futile to allow the heat of a moment to make you lose your sense of self just for the sake of proving yourself in any given single moment. Again, it is futile to allow yourself to lose your sense of self just to prove yourself, just for the moment. In essence, this is what's happening. We get so full of emotion, and this is causing us in some way, shape, or form to feel out of control of ourselves. Again, we get so full of emotion, and this causes us to feel out of control of ourselves. Then we begin to act out how it is that we are feeling. The reason behind why we are feeling this given way, it could vary. We could feel disrespected. It could be we could feel like our experiences are not being validated in any given moment, or we could plainly just feel as if we're not being understood. Here's a disclaimer, however. We are not speaking in terms of situations when you are being physically threatened. If your physical safety is endangered, that is not what we're talking about right now. See, even the alarm going off, the car alarm going off, that's a sign. If you are in physical danger, please do something to get yourself to safety as soon as possible. Otherwise, what we're talking about is maintaining composure in non-life-threatening or physically threatening situations. Sometimes when we allow ourselves to lose control in these ways, it's more of a loss than it is a gain. The time and the energy that we expel in these moments when we're losing control of ourselves, it is not something that we will get back. That is lost to us, and it is a resource. Time and energy is a resource, and this is what makes it futile. It is not something that you will build back up once you expel it in that direction. Or I guess the specific energy that you expelled in that direction will not come back around in the way that you think. The second loss that we're going to talk about today is the fact that when we behave in these ways, we are training our brain and our bodies to perform in this way, therefore perpetuating the problem, which is a sense of losing control over oneself. Again, when we behave in these ways, we are training our brain and our body to be okay with this behavior, therefore perpetuating the problem, which is the sense of losing ourselves, which is the trigger initially. It is the sense of losing yourselves that causes you to actually lose control of yourself. And when it comes to rapport and reputation, no one wants to be friends with a bully. If people you want to connect with, whether in business or in intimate relationships, would not behave in this way themselves, it is highly unlikely that they would accept this treatment and this behavior coming from you. This could cause you to lose precious relationships and opportunities that are coming your way. So what do we do about these situations? How do we go about this? First things first. Always bring yourself into the present moment and maintain a presence of mind. So, how do I like to do this? We all know. Breathing. Breathe. Wasn't that nice? Breathing. Bring your awareness into your 5 senses. Bring yourself into the facts of the situation that are happening right now, and you make your priority assessment. Prioritize what is the most important thing that is happening right now. Great. Step 1. Now step 2. Yes, that is all step 1. The next thing you're going to ask yourself is, can I de-escalate this situation? Can I provide a solution that would bring peace and calm to everybody and everything in this situation that I am involved in? But as you ask yourself, can you also want to ask yourself, is it worth de-escalating the situation and finding a common ground? Now, this is a little bit of a nuanced question because there are certain relationships that are vital for us. In some situations, some relationships are in fact vital. And sometimes we can be the person who is causing so much struggle that we think that it's just not worth having this relationship or certain relationships, or people are replaceable. Because here's the thing that I realized. People are replaceable. People are replaceable. Yet and still, not everyone can replace everyone. And a lot of the times when when our judgment is clouded, we tend to make decisions that are not, I don't want to use the word valid. However, the decisions that we tend to make, they are not level-headed and we tend to regret them. And in these situations, you want to ask yourself, is the situation worth de-escalating, and is it worth finding a common ground on this situation? Especially if you are not the instigator. Nuance. If you are not the instigator and if you are not the one who is inciting the conflict, and here's the thing also, conflict can arise naturally. Sometimes life just happens and there's conflict. Yet and still, sometimes we have to take into account what is our part and what it belongs to the other person and how important this is. So that does in fact go back to step one, which is a priority assessment. And then you go into, can I de-escalate or should I de-escalate? Sometimes, here's another thing, some of us want to de-escalate situations that don't even belong to us. That's a whole lot of third party. Sometimes you're the hype man and sometimes you're the mediator. And sometimes you don't need to be either one. Sometimes you really do just need to take your hands off of the situation. Don't know who that was for. And number 3, can you remove yourself from the situation? I guess that's where I was headed. If steps 1 and 2 do not work, it's best to take a break from the situation. And if taking a break from the situation does not work, sometimes it's best to remove yourself completely altogether. What I do want to say is, do not embody the situation. Again, do not embody this situation. So, composure. Maintain composure in the face of conflict. If we're talking about a situation where you are physically threatened, this is a nuance where it doesn't apply, and please, I pray you get to safety. Also, if it does apply to you, however, do not embody the situation. Composure. I'm gonna be so very honest. Every situation, or the majority of the situations where I have struggled to remain composed, it's usually, the high intensity situation usually derives from someone who I am close with in some way. And it's usually more intimate. It's a family member. I would say a friend, but it doesn't happen too much or as much with friends or even lovers. I would definitely say the most high stress situations I've been with have always been family. Always been. And so much so that I remember, I used to have a phrase in my teen years. I used to say, no one could ever hurt me as much as family has. But now that I'm adult, I realize, nah, that shit's true. Now that I'm adult, I am realizing how much truth that carries. It carries a lot of weight because there's no one that can be closer to you than your family. No one knows you better. No one knows your buttons. And the reality is, even if somebody outside of your family wanted to hurt you, no one has the ability to do it as much as someone who is your family. So that is where a lot of these situations would arise. And I realized that these notes are old, by the way. I have been written these notes. I have been learned this lesson. And then it was interesting because I wrote these notes, and it was not too long after that I was given the situation as to where I was tested. I would say, let's see, this is September. So let's say 6 months later, I was tested. And the thing is, I had ran into so many people in my family and encountered so many situations that I thought I had resolved so much of the trauma until there was one person who appeared. And I realized that this person was a trigger for me. Just their face. This person was there through a lot of the things that I had experienced, and instead of being a comfort for me, this person was a trigger for me. And even if I'm not actively thinking about all the things that we've experienced, I see their face and I feel what I felt when they were around, whether they were the person who made me feel this or not. And what I realized is that I would start to lose composure around this person merely because I was used to not being composed around this person. And I had to, all the tips and the tricks that I'm giving you guys, I had to retrain myself in that way specifically with that person. Now, things got really, really intense, very intense. And I would say that I did emotionally lose control of myself. And this is, mind you, this is within the last 365 days. So I too am still learning. I am definitely still a student of life. But within the last 365 days, I had to retrain myself on things that I thought I had already mastered. Only because the people that I had come across, I had mastered a level of it around them. And these people were very close to me. These were also my siblings. But there was one person in particular. Now, I had to assess not only what is the best way to get around this, what is the best way to maintain peace, and what is the best way to conduct myself. It got all the way down to, is this worth salvaging? And it made me really, really sad just to realize that separation is key. And the thing is that it wasn't hard for me to embrace the fact that, oh, we need a break, we need space, we need this. It was the fact that I needed it from this person, because a lot of times you don't realize how much someone is a trigger for you or how comfortable you are acting crazy around somebody. And the thing is, this person wasn't the problem. It was my association with this person. It was the way that we had grown up. It was my perspective. And as I'm shifting my perspective, I realized this person themselves how do I say this? I shifted my perspective and my associations. However, this person did not change the way they treated me. So as I am consistently embodying new ways, this person is still embodying the old. And I had to make the executive decision, okay, we are not finding a common ground. I'm going to give you the space to exist as you choose to exist. And that's what I had to do. And that was the only way that I learned not to embody that situation or these situations with that person. I didn't have this struggle as much with anybody else, but I learned. And as much love as I still have for this person, it is feed this person with a long-handled spoon. It is one of those situations where because conflict did arise again, and as it arose, I was able to maintain composed, give them the grace to exist as they are choosing to exist, because mind you, they are still the primary character in their story, but there will always be the secondary in mine. And just like that, I will always be the secondary character in their story. What they're going through, it is always going to be more important than the way I present myself. So regardless, just because I changed these associations doesn't mean that person did. So I was forced to remain composure and remove myself and act accordingly. And I really pray that when the situation arises, if it ever does, you maintain composure and you act accordingly in the face of conflict.